Beneath your feet lies a thin shell, fragile and deceptive, the earth's crust. It feels solid, unshakable, eternal. But what if one day it shattered? What if Earth's crust cracked wide open? The ground you trust would betray you, cities, highways. And mountains would split apart like broken glass. The earth would tear itself open. And humanity would watch as our world turned against us. To understand the nightmare, we need to look beneath the surface. The crust is only a skin barely 5 to 70 kilometers thick. Below it lies the mantle, a raging sea of molten rock, hotter than any fire, moving, shifting, alive. The crust floats on this fiery ocean, fragile as ice over a boiling sea. If the crust ever split wide open, that molten fury would rise, unstoppable. At first, it would begin as tremors, earthquakes so massive they'd dwarf anything we've ever known. Skyscrapers would collapse like toys, entire coastlines would sink. Fault lines would rip across continents, tearing roads, rivers, and cities apart. Then comes the fire. Lava fountains would erupt across the cracks, spewing rivers of molten rock hundreds of meters high. Oceans would boil as magma spilled into the sea, releasing clouds of toxic steam. The skies would turn black, filled with ash thick enough to block out the sun. Day would vanish. The world would be plunged into a choking night. Temperatures would plummet, crops would wither, and billions would starve. But the horror wouldn't stop there, because the crust doesn't just protect us from lava, it locks away Earth's fury. Buried beneath are massive pockets of gas, pressure, and heat. If the crust cracked, those forces would be unleashed. Supervolcanoes would ignite across the planet simultaneously. Explosions 1,000 times stronger than Hiroshima would shatter the skies. Entire countries could vanish in hours. The oceans would surge into the cracks. Colliding with the mantle, steam explosions would rip continents apart, while tsunamis hundreds of meters high would slam into every shoreline. Drowning nations in minutes, humanity would scatter desperate, terrified, but there would be no safe place. Every continent would be bleeding fire. Every sky would rain ash. Every ocean would rise in fury. Within months, Earth would transform into a new planet. The surface we know are mountains, forests, and cities would be gone. In their place, endless lava fields, ash deserts, and boiling seas. The air would be poisoned with sulfur, the sun forever hidden behind a ceiling of black smoke. Life as we know it would end. But could anything survive? Perhaps deep underground, where microbes thrive in heat and darkness. Life would endure, perhaps in the ocean's darkest trenches, far from the chaos above. Strange creatures would continue. Earth might not die completely, but it would be reborn into a hellscape, unrecognizable to us and humans at best. A few scattered survivors, living in bunkers, choking on poisoned air, fighting over scraps of food and clean water. Civilization would crumble overnight. Nations, governments, and borders would vanish. The survivors would become wanderers on a broken earth, praying not to be swallowed by fire. But let's imagine, for one moment, that somehow against all odds humanity adapted. We might evolve into a new species, harmed by fire and ash, generations later. Our descendants might call this fiery earth their home, building cities not in green valleys, but on the edges of glowing lava seas. To them, our earth, the earth of blue skies and green fields, would be nothing more than a myth. So, what if Earth's crust cracked open? Then the ground beneath your feet would become your greatest enemy. The planet you call home would reveal its true nature, not a safe haven, but a ticking time bomb of fire and fury. Humanity would face its greatest trial not against war or disease, but against the earth itself. And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder We walk on a fragile shell, floating over unimaginable power. The crust is not eternal. It is a thin line between life and apocalypse. So next time you feel the ground beneath your feet, remember, it only takes one crack, one shatter, for our world to end. Because Earth is alive, and if it ever awakens fully, we may not survive its wrath.